What is going on? Happy Humpty. I'm going live in 3, 2, 1. Now let's see. Interesante. Just checking a couple things. Had some mild technical difficulties last couple days. Stream's coming out a little grainy and just can't seem to determine entirely what the issue is. Downgraded the stream quality what Facebook wants. However, strange. Let's try that. Better at all? That looks a little better. I see less blur on my side here. Weird. All right. Just toggling these settings a little more, just making sure life is swell. Every now and then you got to do a little bit of a dry run like this going on. Man. But manages to get. It's a luxury now in 2024 that to expect. Super odd. Well, let's get on with it, shall we? All right, hello, esteemed viewers, friends, and fellow healthcare advocates. This is Dr. Joaquin Acosta, your trusted guide in the fascinating realm of pharmacy and healthcare, welcoming you to another enriching episode of the Know Your Pharmacist live stream, where we bridge the gap between knowledge and care, and where each insight is a step towards a healthier, more empowered you. Tonight, We're embarking on a journey that's not just about information, but transformation. We start with our Pharmacist Frontline segment, showcasing a pioneering initiative where pharmacists are revolutionizing primary care. It's a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of integration in healthcare, proving that when we collaborate and connect, the impossible becomes possible. In our Tech Talk, we delve into the innovative world of Jace Case, your personal guard in emergencies. It's about being prepared, being proactive, and embracing the science that safeguards our lives. This segment is more than informative, it's a lifeline, a testament to our ingenuity in the face of uncertainty. Our Enlightenment Hour is a dive into the mysterious interplay of diet and mental health. Here we'll unravel how what we eat influences not just our body, but our mind and spirit. It's a captivating exploration, blending the best of science and holistic wisdom to light up paths of healing and understanding. In the Herbal Wellness Corner, sponsored by High Horse Cannabis Company, we explore the potent role of cannabis in immune modulation. It's a narrative that shifts paradigms, inviting us to view cannabis through a lens of healing and balance, breaking stereotypes and opening new doors to new possibilities, and not just expensive DMarts. Pharmacists, you know what I'm talking about. Community Spotlight, brought to you by the Baked Chicken Farm, celebrates the power of community in transforming lives. It's about the collective spirit that drives innovation and excellence in the world of cannabis cultivation, celebrating New Mexico FFA Fun Run happening here next month. We're not just discussing community, we are building one right here together. And in our Men's Health Minute, sponsored by Vado Speedway Park, we delve into the future of male contraception, a topic that speaks volumes about the evolution of healthcare and the male role in family planning. It's about empowerment, choice, and taking control of our health narratives. Tonight, we don't just share knowledge, we create a mosaic of ideas, stories, and innovations. We blend warmth with confidence, science with empathy, to not just inform, but to transform. So, buckle up for an enlightening ride filled with insights, inspirations, and groundbreaking revelations. This is your moment to connect, learn, and be a part of the change. Welcome to Know Your Pharmacist. Let's take on this journey together. So, jumping on in, Pharmacist Frontline segment. Pretty cool stuff coming out of the state of Michigan. Sharing it with you guys here. So the pharmacist patient care process, what is this going on, right? So literally is a pretty cool situation. According to some studies at Michigan, adding a pharmacist to the primary care team was so effective in Michigan at controlling blood pressure that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention are now copying it. CDC evaluated and then created an implementation guide called the Michigan Medicine Hypertension Pharmacist Program. Pretty crazy, right? The program offers patients with high blood pressure access to care and education from pharmacists with the patient's primary care clinician. They found that 66% of patients who met with a pharmacist had their blood pressure under control within 3 months, compared to 42% of patients who did not meet with a pharmacist. At 6 months, 69% of patients had their blood pressure under control, compared with 56% without a pharmacist. CDC is going to copy the program and expand it to other regions of the country. Very, very cool, right? And so looking at the program, based on the Michigan Medicine Hypertension Pharmacist Program, I think this is something to be proud of in the world of pharmacy here. You know, in the world of cardiovascular care, the world of collaborative, innovative medicine. Keep the pharmacists around and doing the right things with the team there is very awesome. So let's take a look at the pharmacist patient care process framework, right? Especially right now in a time where, for whatever reason, the AMA, the American Medical Association, is really trying to trash on pharmacists and pretty much every other career that's not a medical doctor, saying, pretty much stay in your lane and, don't try to help healthcare access. And this is not a joke. Like this is literally big pharmacy organizations arguing, against this kind of thing with now. So very strange overall. And yeah, so give me just 2 seconds here. We'll be showing just a little bit of stuff here. I know February, of course, cardiovascular prevention month, but guys, cardiovascular disease is the biggest killer here in the United States of America. And again, hypertension is one of the foundational risk factors for heart disease and stroke, aka the two leading causes of death in the United States, right? So basically looking at this hypertension, obviously for individuals and health systems, looking at these numbers, for example, an individual in the United States with hypertension is estimated to incur nearly $2,000 more in annual healthcare expenditures than someone without hypertension. The annual cost of hypertension in the United States is estimated to fall within the range of 131 billion to 198 billion. And given the prevalence and health-related burden of hypertension, CDC's Division for Heart Disease and Stroke Prevention uses systematic screening and assessment methodology to identify promising interventions, reduce death and ability due to heart disease and stroke by improving blood pressure control. The Michigan Medicine Program was selected for a rigorous evaluation to its effectiveness and to identify aspects of the program that could be replicated. So, looking at it, standard, structured approach for pharmacists to work with patients to address hypertension through implementation of the PPCP, not just sending out med recs and interns, actually getting the pharmacists involved, right? Not kind of the subpar care that we give down here in our hospitals. And I know some people are going to give me a little bit of flack on that. So, watching the internet happen here, guys, as we do this, because for whatever reason, I've been having some connectivity issues the last couple of days. Please your patience. Bear with me. So let's continue on. Big points for all these hospitals to take on, right? Why consider the patient care process? CDC's evaluation of the Michigan Medicine Program included an exam of patients' EHR data and discussions with program staff. CDC identified the following clinical and health system benefits that resulted from implementing the PCP. More Michigan Medicine Program patients across the clinic or community settings achieve blood pressure control. Patients who participate in the program were more likely to achieve blood pressure control within 3 to 6 months. Those who did not, right? So you're looking at it, we read some of those numbers a bit earlier. At 3 months, 66% control with a pharmacist, 42% control without, 69% control at 6 months with a pharmacist, 56.5% control without, right? So we're looking at better quality of care there when we are looking at what is going on, right? And definitely need to be a part of the patient care plan. And giving these interventions a little earlier saves money down the line. What does that mean, right? Like healthcare savings. We want those things. More patients maintain their blood pressure control. Participating patients maintain blood pressure control for more than 3 months of starting the program than patients who did not. More revenue through quality incentives. Improvements in the pressure control program provided the Michigan Medicine Program an opportunity to generate revenue through quality incentive programs that offer higher insurance reimbursement for meeting certain high blood pressure benchmarks. Improved hypertension medication management. Patients in the program receive better medication management, as evidenced by more frequent adjustments to their hypertension medications than those not in the program, and increased primary care physicians' availability to see patients. Delegation of hypertension care responsibilities from physicians to pharmacists frees up physicians' time. Patients who participated in the program had significantly fewer visits with their primary care physicians, thus allowing more time for those primary care physicians to see other patients. Right? Don't we want that? You want pharmacists helping primary care physicians, working alongside them, helping the same patients to achieve the same shared outcomes that everybody would celebrate together. So anyways, that's me alluding to the fact that American Medical Association is really trying to suppress any non-medical doctor from practicing medicine at all. Like, pretty nasty right there out right now in the professional world for whatever reason. It's not like there's enough doctors in the country, regardless of what kind of doctor. So, anyways, let's move on. Jace case. So I don't know if you guys started seeing ads recently or not. Maybe it's just me. So it's like, let's talk about it. The Jace case. What's going on with this product? Jace case kit, your personalized emergency medicine case. Having life-saving medications on hand should never be an afterthought. You have life-saving medication for pneumonia, traveler's diarrhea, UTI, Lyme disease, and bacterial vaginosis, right? Interesting things. And you can also have add-ons. You can get an inhaler, fluconazole, Dancitron, valcyclovir, and even have it for your kids, right? Pretty interesting. So, again, who is this for? It's the kind of question that I kind of come to find out. And so, I was looking a little bit more into Jace case thing, looking about some of the info about the Jace case. Interestingly enough, one of the founders, I believe, is a at least resident at the Memorial Medical Center. Anybody see that white coat look a little familiar? Anyways, Dr. Sean Rowland, he came out of basically Las Cruces, New Mexico, right? Memorial Medical Center, completed his residency training. Now he's a board certified physician, right? And he did both Mexico and United States. So it's a very interesting little business model coming from, these guys here. And I think it's a cool idea. I think it's overpriced, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not to trash anybody's business model by any means, but again, who are the people that are going to be buying this stuff, right? This is the kind of thing that you would see, a late night infomercial. In my humble opinion, opinions are my own, and I think if you have it, great. Like, if you have a lifetime supply of ammo and water in your basement, this is one of those things to add to that, right? So unless you're planning for the end days, I don't quite think it's worth spending perhaps the $1,200, on stocking up on the Jace case. Pretty cool, but these antibiotics, right? These are $4 medication anywhere else. There's no reason they should be marked up, for a one-time Jace case. I don't know where they're comparing some of these prices against. It may be the AWP, so the AWP is the average wholesale price, and so this price here, the one low price of $269.95, just for the antibiotic kit, a little expensive, but it gets you, kind of what you need to get, right? If you were like, hey, I want to have, Augmentin on deck just in case I have infections or something. But again, you just get very concerned because you look at bug and drug and, antibiotic resistance and things like that. And if you don't dose something right, or you don't take a full course of therapy, where you're taking it way too much, right? What happens then? Well, very, very interesting. So, you can develop resistance. Your bacteria, your body may develop resistance to, whatever it is. And so if you were using this because you might be just a little bit obsessed with antibiotics, and some people really are, like, some people truly want an antibiotic every time they've got a runny nose, anytime like anything's wrong, right? And so it's like, all right, I go to the doctor, or you go to the doctor, it's just the doctor. What happens if you go to the doctor and they don't give you any medication when you come back out? They're like, all right, you're gonna get better in a couple days. Sometimes a lot of people, especially in the American health system, feel a little duped. And so for all those people, there's something for you. It's, it's cool. I don't entirely, I would say if you're going to get one of these, before you take things, you need to call your pharmacist, you need to be calling your doctor, and some of the rules on these laws and stuff, not all of the, you don't even have to see a physician to be able to order it in certain states. So I think New Mexico states you probably do, but you can almost bypass the physician, get the antibiotics. Some people would just go to Mexico to do this kind of thing and then self-treat. I'm saying, got to be careful about self-treating and then overspending. So, you like having the in stock for the end times, great. But if you have no idea what you even got, in terms of infection, if you even know if it's an infection or not, would you be taking an antibiotic? A lot of the times in the hospital, they do bug drug, right? They'll do strep tests. Do you actually have strep? Are we going to dose you with penicillin? Because particular antibiotics work for particular bacteria, whether it's gram positive, gram negative, whatever range, right? Antibiotics are designed specifically for specific bacteria. So again, just because you have a runny nose or scratchy throat doesn't mean you know what bacteria that are inside of you, right? So it's kind of, it's a shot in the dark for $269. But I get that people kind of want this, and people at the same time will, hoard their medications or their antibiotics in their shelves for a long time and then just, start popping them whenever they feel sick. And I don't support that kind of thing either. So, again, I'm also a pharmacist. I'm pretty biased on these kinds of things, but I can definitely tell you can get this for cheaper and have a lot more targeted therapy when it comes to antibiotic use, right? Versus keeping these in the back of your house and then self-treating and not knowing how to self-treat and turning into a Frankenstein, right? And you're not going to turn into a Frankenstein, but there are considerations. Like sometimes, you may have compromised kidney function and you don't even know it, right? Ciprofloxacin, some of these other drugs may, really actually affect that. They may interact with other things that you're taking at the time. Does the doctor know that? Does the doctor know if, you are on other medications that prolong your QT interval? Or did you add on those medications that might prolong your QT interval, right, in your heart when you've got these in the back of your house and then all of a sudden you feel sick and start taking Cipro and then what happens, right? So again, these are those things where it's like you probably want to work closely with a healthcare provider when you start getting into the antibiotic game and these kinds of games. Like, when you start guessing, and that's truly the truth. So, just telling you that. That's the risk. I would tell patients, I'd just say, obviously, I wouldn't personally buy this, but some people might feel like this is a good deal. You don't have health insurance or something, odd and random, and you've got your supply, and we hit some sort of something or another. How far does this get you? I don't know, right? So, anyways, cool stuff in the Tech Talk Hour. Jace Case, your emergency medication lifeline. They've got other stuff here, which I think is actually cool. So like chronic medications, some of these actually like valcyclovir. This is a good one because a lot of people, that's a good one to have on deck. When you have the cold wars, valcyclovir, Valtrex, boom, that's a nice one. People do like to have. Interestingly enough, other chronic diseases, seizure, asthma, autoimmune, blood thinner, cholesterol, diabetes. These are great, to have in terms of some sort of kit, a backup kit, whatever it may be. However, what do we want? What do we want to see out of this? I just want to make sure that the telehealth part of it is actually, as full circle as it should be, because if it's not, these medications can be just dangerous just giving them out, right? So, all right, that's that. But stock up if you need. Check it out. Not saying completely don't check it out, but you see these ads, you see the way they're targeted. So you got to be careful sometimes. It makes you, maybe kind of in the back of your mind want to be extra prepared and have these, but what happens? Who knows? All right, so Enlightenment Hour, diet and psychosis. Check this out. Schizophrenia spectrum disorders represent a severe cluster of severe mental illnesses. Diet has been identified as a modifiable risk factor and opportunity for intervention in many physical illnesses, and more recently in mental illnesses such as unipolar depression. However, no dietary guidelines exist for patients with SSD. This review is sought to systematically scope the existing literature in order to identify nutritional interventions for prevention of treatment of mental health systems in schizophrenia spectrum disorder. As a lot of people see with, mental health and things like that, training, people are looking into the inputs into the body as to what is causing some of these issues, right? Ketogenic diet is one of those that people are looking at right now in terms of, wow, that is actually, perhaps an effective, possible therapy for, those with perhaps neurological disorders, mental health disorders, things like that. Very interesting. But, in this study, they were looking at a connection between the presence of psychotic disorders and poor quality dietary patterns, higher intake of refined carbs and total fat, and lower intakes of levels of fiber with W3 and W6 fatty acids, vegetables, fruit, and certain vitamins B12 and B6, folate, vitamin Z, zinc, and selenium. Evidence illustrates a role of food allergy and sensitivity, as well as microbiome composition and specific phytonutrients such as L-theanine, sulforaphane, and resveratrol. Experimental studies have demonstrated benefit using healthy diet patterns and specific vitamins and minerals, B12, B6, folate, and zinc, and amino acids, serine, lysine, and tryptophan. Overall, findings were consistent with many other bodies of knowledge about dietary patterns. Many limitations exist related to the design of individual studies and the ability to extract the results of studies using dietary supplements to dietary interventions, aka food, right? What happened? Dietary recommendations are presented as well as further research as basically out of how to manage all that yet. More fiber, sure, right? Is that something we want to see? Maybe, right? Watching my connection just slowly fade away. Sorry for the confusion there, but network connection 9 out of 10. Still rainy, and I do apologize for whatever that is. Anyways, coming down a little bit on this study, I just want to show. Scrolling down. So, higher intake of food associated with psychosis, interestingly enough, full-fat cream, milk and dairy, fish, red meat, olive oil, reduced calorie, butter, and margarine, versus milk, fish, red meat, potato, nuts, pulses, and chicken, right? And we're looking at the experimental studies, carbohydrates and fiber, right? All kinds of different foods and inputs that we are putting into the body. How do you actually look at serum glucose levels, which are affected by those things, to translate into cognitive, mood, anxiety in healthy and diabetic populations, as demonstrated in a small number of refined. Where are these happening? So the inputs of them a problem, right? And so we're looking at ketogenic diet in terms of clearing up some of these issues. Is that a possibility on top of the right in additions into your life? Sure, it perhaps could be. We're not quite there yet, but there are certain things to consider for a lot of people who might be considering making all types of changes, this, that, and the other, in your life. Maybe it may be worth imploring, looking at your diet and seeing, what kind of higher intake of refined carbohydrates, right, do you have? What is an example of a refined carbohydrate? I'll just put this right here. White rice, white pasta, bagels, white bread, beverages, pizza, candy, all my favorite foods in the entire world, right? They might just be making me a loony toony. Just kidding. But, perhaps worth taking a look there because, these are a lot of the times processed, kinds of stuff that, perhaps are non-natural additives in there that could be very much affecting our body. So we'll draw it at that today. I'm going to jump on into our cannabis section as we're talking inflammation, guys. Things like, things we were talking about yesterday where obviously, pharmacy drug pricing is out of control. I don't know if you heard Mark Cuban talking about, his cost plus drug model. And in the cost plus drug model, there is a lot of specialty generic medications that he himself is now going to start manufacturing. I guess not himself, but obviously cost plus. And so, what are we talking about? In those kinds of medications that are very expensive that people have to be on, what are they taking them for inflammation? And these are called DMARDs. They're anti-rheumatic drugs, disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs, and they're supposed to slow down autoimmune disease progression. And autoimmune disease progression is something we still don't even have a whole lot of overall oversight for, right? These are things that you try to slow down to some degree, but all we can tell is that these inflammatory markers are up, right? So TNF alpha, right? Interleukin 1, interleukin 6, very interesting there. So cannabis also plays a role on all of these inflammatory markers in the body, which is pretty interesting as we're talking about inflammatory markers in the body being a possible representative sample for reasons to spend a lot of money on medication and reasons to hate your life, right? So where some of these other disorders may be segueing in and out some other things in our Herbal Wellness Corner, brought to you by High Horse Cannabis Company today. Hope everybody does remember to vote SEs, guys. You can vote once every single day, and I please implore you to do so. On there, trying to be Best Advocate of the Year 2023. Vote for me for the SE Award. Vote for High Horse, baby. We are Southeast Quadrant, Southwest Quadrant, best dispensaries in the state in those two quadrants. Best customer service, best flower overall, best wholesale macro producer, High Horse Cannabis, all those categories. So awesome stuff. Be sure to get those votes in. And don't forget, shop High Horse 24/7, 365. But let me get back onto my spiel here. So anyways, not surprisingly, given its broad ability to replace multiple classes of pharmaceuticals, cannabis is able to perform many of the same functions as the DMARDs. The endocannabinoid system is already working via some of these same mechanisms to prevent and regulate autoimmune diseases, and many of the effects of cannabis are simply enhancing the inherent function. Immune cells contain high levels of CD2 receptors. Their activation by endocannabinoids fine-tune the immune cell's function, limit spontaneous activation, and most often act to suppress excessive inflammatory activity. Endocannabinoids regulate the proliferation and apoptosis of T and B lymphocytes, macrophage-mediated killing cells, production of inflammatory cytokines, and the migration of immune cells. Beyond CD2 receptors, endocannabinoids also regulate the immune system by controlling the expression of genes via PPAR, nuclear receptors, and other pathways. THC, not surprisingly, can convey these same benefits. Specifically, THC has been shown to induce apoptosis and reduce proliferation of B cells and T cells while increasing the number of T regulatory cells, which are beneficial in autoimmune disease. CBD also triggers apoptosis in certain T cell subtypes that contribute to autoimmune inflammation, and they both, THC and CBD, inhibit the release of pro-inflammatory Th1 cytokines like IL-1 and TNF alpha. THCA also has potent anti-TNF alpha activity, and THC and CBD have also been shown to increase the production of THC2 cytokines to counteract the effects of the more inflammatory Th1 cytokines. Very crazy, right? So cannabinoids, they have been shown to decrease the activity of metalloproteinases, enzymes implicated in cartilage destruction in autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis. So, what does that mean for everybody else that's listening? If perhaps you might be on expensive medication, like Humira and all these other things, have we even considered cannabis? And a lot of these autoimmune clinics and stuff are not even going to be pushing that at all, and they're not going to even want to consider it. But there is data there, right? And so, we look at perhaps the immune systems of people who regularly use cannabis. They may be more actually responsive to its anti-inflammatory effects than new users, demonstrated in a study in which phytocannabinoids inhibited the migration of monocytes taken from blood of regular users, but did not affect migration of monocytes taken from non-users. So, what can cannabis do? Well, the endocannabinoid system does perform many of the same mechanisms of actions as these DMARD medications, drugs that prevent progression and support remission of autoimmune diseases, where we look at endocannabinoid deficiency, and we can't necessarily correlate endocannabinoid deficiency to some number, to some, disease. But what we can do is look at, the fact that endocannabinoid deficiency is present in a lot of these different situations, and how the heck do we attack that, right? So, we look at clinical trial data and autoimmune conditions. This is what I pretty much got for you right now. One of the most frequent autoimmune disease treated with cannabis is multiple sclerosis. Also, one of the best studied. Nabiximols, brand name Sativex, is a pharmaceutical and oral spray containing actual plant-derived THC and CBD, and has been extensively investigated in randomized controlled trials between 2000 and 2010. So Nabiximols trials included more than 2,500 patients with MS, of whom more than 660 were continuously treated for at least 6 months. Nabiximols was subsequently approved in several countries for the treatment of MS spasticity, and vast clinical experience with Nabiximols in post-marketing settings for more than 150,000 patient years of use to date. A recent review of the post-marketing data concluded that Nabiximols is a solid option for the management of multiple sclerosis spasticity in patients who fail to respond adequately to treatment for first-line antispasticity agents. And the authors also noted Nabiximols can provide noticeable relief to other symptoms associated with spasticity, such as spasms, pain, and disrupted sleep. As a side note, researchers and medical authorities do ascribe cannabis to the category of second-line therapies, right? Considering it has a superior safety profile to most of the actual first-line agents out there, an extensive list of side effects typically conveyed to patients, and as described, right, much cheaper than these brand name medications, specialty drugs. And so, the American Academy of Neurology in 2014 reviewed 34 studies, the use of oral cannabinoids in the treatment of multiple sclerosis spasticity, pain originating in the central nervous system, and spasticity-related pain, and found oral cannabinoids are probably also effective for reducing bladder complaints in patients with MS. Guys, we don't have an entire MS standard of care when it comes to cannabis and things, and these are data that's based on other studies. But other autoimmune conditions such as like pruritus, itching, right? CBD, THC, both help because inflammation is one of the underlying causes of these things. Inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. We've seen CBD really help with some of these flares and the exacerbation, right? And, it's very interesting. So in practice, one study showed surveys of patients with all of these conditions, IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis, with GI symptoms experiencing like abdominal pain, diarrhea, bleeding, weight loss, as well as systemic symptoms like joint pain and fatigue. They have looked at basically those who have found cannabis find it helpful. And 80% in a survey of US patients who have tried cannabis reported benefits in their condition, and 21% of those living in states with both medical and adult use cannabis laws used adult use products specifically for IBD without even their clinician's knowledge. And that's another testament to the stigma that is happening, right? People have gut issues, stomach issues, all things like that, and struggling when it comes to wanting to incorporate cannabis and then talk to their doctor about it. But that's what I'm saying. Just because it's adult use and rec doesn't mean don't talk to your doctor about it and just go to try to self-treat, as with anything, right? Talk to a pharmacist, talk to your doctor, get the coordination of care, make smart decisions, and we'll be here for you. And perhaps even save some money too. So, Meat Spotlight brought to you by the Baked Chicken Farms. Putting this up on the screen. Centennial FFA Fun Run, April 27th at 9 a.m. behind the Las Cruces Dam off Loman. Proceeds to support the Centennial FFA Chapter 8 travel scholarships and contest fees. So good stuff. Go support. Go get out there and move. Fun walk. You don't have to run. Do you. Have fun. We'll close this thing off with our men's health minute, guys. We're talking about the status of what the heck is going on with male contraception. I know this comes up every now and then. According to the World Journal of Men's Health, January of this year, many contraceptive methods have been developed over the years due to high demand. However, female contraceptive pills and devices do not work for all females due to health conditions and side effects. Also, the number of males who want to actively participate in family is gradually increasing. However, the only contraceptive options currently available to males are condoms and vasectomy. Therefore, many male contraceptive methods, including medication, hormonal and non-hormonal therapy, and mechanical methods are under development. Things in concern: versatility, safety, persistence, degree of invasion, promptness, and the suppression of anti-sperm antibody formations are essential factors in the development of these contraceptive methods. When are we going to see something come out, right? Hopefully, rather soon, but, we don't exactly know how these contraceptive methods really work everything overall. The, surprising thing there is, for whatever reason, healthcare has figured this out for women, but they have not figured it out for men, right? Men being condoms and vasectomy. And so, when it comes to hormone therapy, non-hormone therapy, vas deferens, targeting, how do you, find something out, and when are we going to expect a male patrol? We keep seeing like this is going to be this year, this is going to be this year. I think we've been saying this since I've been in pharmacy school at this point. So there is no idea. Wrap it up, or do the vasectomy. Not a whole lot of options out there for you guys, us men right now, and regardless of any other thoughts on that, that's just kind of the fact of the matter. Hope everybody has a good hump day. No pun intended. We'll see you guys tomorrow.